and impact on your health are every day. Our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AIM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AIM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Certainly weather did cooperate, did it not? Things are going to be getting hot around here this weekend, well into the 90s, I understand. Here today we're going to probably keep the pace up a bit. There were questions literally that surfaced on Friday's show about some confusion out there. Seems that we present so many things here on the air that sometimes you as a listener get confused about, well, what the heck does he do out there? So I had in mind, and I will pursue sort of a listing, walking down through, maybe re-explaining that which you already know, but putting it in some context, things that we do here at the Courtney Medical Group out here in McMurray. Look, if in the conversation with you today, you want to call and ask a question or to make a comment, the number, as you should know it by now, 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. I will give that number additionally throughout the hour. So we open them up to you as well as sort of guide this thing today. Hope you enjoy it. I'll enjoy presenting it to you. Up and coming things. Look, we brought frequency-specific microcurrent, which I'll be talking about a little bit today, to the forefront here. We did that. We brought that to you, and we have really gotten very sophisticated with it. We know there are two types. The frequency-specific type and the non-frequency-specific. We got good examples of both. Something called Inspirastar is the unit to go to, at least in my opinion, and that of Shannon Dosen. The go-to unit for frequency-specific is Inspirastar, and we certainly have been utilizing this. We've been using this therapy for many years now. It's the therapy first brought to us by our good friend Dr. Ed Kondrot, who, although he did not invent frequency-specific microcurrent, has certainly used it to his advantage and to the advantage of all those who have participated in our eye programs, because frequency-specific microcurrent is the staple item, and I do mean the staple item that allows these people to get their vision restored and begin so in as little as 3 days. I'll be talking a little bit about eye programs too. Anyway, the non-frequency specific type, and I would say the number one unit to help you with your pain issues is the Avasia unit. We introduced that through the help of Shannon, and then since then have met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Mike Legal, and he is the president and CEO of a group called First Alternatives. They are the sole marketer for all the Avasia units throughout the entire country, and we are the go-to group here in Western Pennsylvania. That, of course, led to you meeting Mr. Lynn Teachworth, a trainer in the use of the Avasia equipment. Trains all over the world, literally. People learning how to utilize the Avasia technology, and he's coming to town. Now, we got a commitment out of Mr. Legal to bring it to town, and the perfect venue, as I've already told you, is to piggyback the Avasia training on the tail end of a conference. It's going to be held here. It's not a conference, it's a national convention of massage therapists here in Pittsburgh, going to be in August, starting on the 19th of August, ending on Saturday the 22nd. Now, we will be a vendor in a large vendor room, as most of these conferences and seminars go. There will be people who are buying Avasia units and would sure like to be trained on how to use them before they go home. We felt it was perfect to offer Avasia training on the 23rd of August, so piggyback it right on the Sunday there, and allow those who have purchased units during the show to get trained in that unit. And then, of course, how great could it be happening here in Pittsburgh? Those who are in Western Pennsylvania and think they'd like to learn how to use the Avasia units, whether or not you are a practitioner or just a very interested patient and you yourself would love to be able to participate, both of you are invited to attend. And to register, there's sort of a double format. If you currently do not own an Avasia unit, then you can head right to the website at First Alternatives, that is plural, firstalternatives.com. On the opening page, click on the icon marked Training. There you'll see it light up, August 23rd here in Pittsburgh. When you click on it, you're taken to a registration page. Just fill that all out. You can pay the fee online, and you're all set to go. We'll see you at 8:30 on Sunday, August 23rd. If, in fact, you already do own an Avasia unit, you qualify for a substantial discount, but they didn't put the right paperwork on the internet. So tell you what, don't register for the show. You just come on in at 8 o'clock instead of 8:30, and all the paperwork will be ready for you. You'll get your discount. If you should happen to buy a unit after attending, you'll have it reimbursed back to you. I mean, that's just the way to do it. So, Avasia Training coming to town. It's not a one and only. It'll be the one of many, but we're so happy to be involved and to be your headquarters, your go-to on how you can learn more about microcurrent in general and the Avasia unit in particular. Now, we do a lot of eye work here. Haven't you caught on? And we've been, excuse me, we have been the go-to northern affiliate of Dr. Edward Kondruk's Healing the Eye and Wellness Center, which is now based out of Fort Myers, Florida. But since July of 2013, we have conducted monthly programs here in my office, 3-day programs, and now, for the last couple of months, 4-day programs for those who have retinal diseases as well as now cataracts. So we're able to substantially improve in all diseases, all eye diseases. We couldn't make that statement a few months ago, but the retinal diseases, which is a long list of problems that unfortunately have no treatment in the conventional world, and I'm talking things like macular degeneration, whether it be wet or dry, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, macular hole, macular pucker. These are all diagnoses that various people carry with them. How about this one? Retinitis pigmentosa. That doesn't seem like an odd, but rare retinal disease. Unfortunately, when you have a retinal disease, you, crazy as it may sound, have no treatment in the offing to be able to reverse the problem. It just is the way that conventional medicine has evolved, but Dr. Kondruk, 15 years ago, put together a way to deal with these retinal problems, and he's been so successful. At the end of 3 days, we can demonstrate objectively and quantifiably how much improved you can be, ending the bad news. So the news no longer is you can't do anything about them. The news is you can absolutely do something about them, and it takes you 3 days to get that going and to prove you will have a substantial gain in 92%. That's where we're batting right now, 92%. Pretty high number. So look, if you're interested in our eye programs, we have another one, very unusual this month. But so many people who want to be involved, we had to hold a second one. The last one, which ended last Thursday, all participants gained substantially in all categories. And we're hoping the same for our group begins today. Of course, I'll let you know on Friday how well that went, because we'll have everyone already passed through and be completed and so forth, so I can report, hopefully, the same kind of trending, which I'm sure I will. I'll just be completely honest about it when we do it on Friday. So if you'd like to be involved with the next month, can't do it this month, but next month I can tell you that the eye program is scheduled for the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Those are the 4 days carved out for it. There's plenty of time to get all your records in there because we have to send them down to Dr. Kondruk. He does actively participate in every single case that we are involved with. He is the ophthalmologist on call, and Dr. Lisa Bowen, the optometrist. What a pair. what a wonderful pair to have in your corner, and I know you've come to appreciate them too. Speaking of eyes, we put together a disc. If you want to hear the story as it has unfolded here over many, many months, I put a disc together and launched it on the 16th, whereby we've taken some very prominent shows. One show was done all the way back in December of 2014. It was Dr. Kondrat's request to me to air out. He was really upset. He was really mad about reading a research article on how these injections that the retinal specialists use for wet macular degeneration were really not helping. I mean, not helping. And if it was just only not helping but not hurting, that'd be one thing. But it was really revealed that a high percentage of people were having their retinas damaged, even more so than the disease itself. He exposed it in a show that we did in the archives. You can go to it, December 17th, 2014. But we put it on the disc. And it was entitled The Watergate of Eye Care. Catchy name as that would be. Watergate, conjures up whole bunches of images. So that's on there. Then we included a show with Dr. Todd Wiley, a optometrist from Spokane, Washington, who was having wonderful successes treating cataracts with something called, we didn't really know it at the time, something called a beamer. Well, we've since found out about the beamer. We drive one around here each and every day, and it is a staple item in our cataract program and becoming a staple item in everything we do. And so the first discussion about cataracts and the potential to reverse them while using the beamer was brought to your attention, and we included it as a second installment on the disc. The third program, and we could just barely fit it on there to round it out, is the show we did. It was done on June 3rd after we had our first group of cataract patients come through. And this was an interview that we did with Dr. Lisa Bowen, who, skeptical as she was, but not really skeptical anymore, she described to you her amazement on how well these cataract patients did with the program we literally put together here. And also, too, on the same show, the participants who wanted to come on took the time to come on and explain how their vision changed. And I thought the combination of those three shows was a wonderful disc to put together. It is now available. It is in the office. If you have an eye affliction, you'll want to get a copy for yourself. If you know somebody who has any eye affliction and certainly doesn't even know about us, purchase one for him or her, and just pass it on. I think you'll be happy that you did. Okay, now, big launch here, folks. New up and coming, very exciting times moving forward. But I got to tell you, we're moving. We, meaning me, are moving. We're going to be changing over to a new radio station starting this weekend. Now, the radio station, you know it well. It's Pittsburgh Talk Radio. It's called WJAS. It's 1320 on the dial, and it's been around quite a long time. It's the home of the big boys. Oh, that's the Rush. What is it? Glenn Beck, Rush, Sean, and Dave. I forget the name. I'll remember it. Anyway, it's some of the biggest, heaviest lineups that one could have on a radio show. But we're on the weekend. And so I want to invite you, those who have been steady listeners here, they want to come on over to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. We're going to call it TW3. It's going to be a way to keep in bringing you what we do here in a workshop fashion. We're going to be probably introducing what we do to a group of people very unlike the listeners of WKHB. I'm going to guess that many of them aren't as savvy as you are. Actually, I'll need your help in trying to convince them that maybe they ought to use some other approach to get done what isn't getting done with our conventional doctors, an approach you took a long time ago. Anyway, we're really excited. to bring in the show, TW3 at 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And by the time September rolls around, we'll actually have a Sunday morning presence also. We'll be taking over the weekend at WJAS, Pittsburgh Talk Radio. Now, look, you can dial it up. It's an AM radio station. Yes, it is an AM radio station, and sometimes it gets a little crackly. That is what AM radio does. But you can solve that two other ways. Number one, you can go to WJAS.com, where the show is streamed live here in Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, literally worldwide. And so if you're having reception issues where you are, you can go right ahead at WJAS.com and listen to the show as we do it live. Of course, it's part of what's called, and they had to teach me about this, I really didn't understand it, iHeartRadio. And so, worldwide, all you have to do is dial up iHeart.com and click on News and Talk and Pittsburgh stations, and there's WJAS loud and clear anywhere you want to listen to it. So with a number of options available to you, if you got a real clear signal where you are, well, you won't have to do a thing. But I know some people, by the way, I met them. They're very young people, and they don't even know, get a load of this, they don't know what AM radio is. One young lady, when I told her that if she really wanted to learn about how to manage patients alternatively, because she had a mind to enter medicine, she wouldn't become a doctor. And I said, you know what, 4 years of medical school are going to go by. You won't be able to have a discussion about integrated medicine at all. At all. I mean, it's just not going to come up. So I suggested maybe you do some work over those 4 years. And one thing I would like you to probably do is, hey, dial up the radio show. We're on, and we cover these topics every single day. And so she said, how do I go about that? I said, well, of course, we're on AM radio. And then she said to me, and she meant it, she said to me, here's a quote, "What is AM radio?" Folks, she meant it. And what she meant was, if it's not on her computer, if she can't dial it up on her computer, if the only way to get it is through some gadget that was used at the beginning of the 1900s, she didn't want to be involved with it. And, of course, the rest is history. So we're giving you all sorts of opportunities. Looking forward to seeing you at TW3, the Weekend Wellness Workshop. That's starting this Saturday, 10 o'clock. Look forward to it. Hope to see you there. Okay, let's take a short break. And when we come back, let's see what we do here. Probably a good way to help you out, because I get the impression that you might be confused. Well, let's sort of list out a starter set. It's not everything we do, but beginning to have the opportunity maybe to describe in a list fashion all the ways that you can improve yourself by what we offer you. Be right back in a moment. morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Right here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Monday morning version of the show. Hot, hot, hot. Is it going to get around here? Let's see if we can heat things up in here by allowing you to maybe appreciate and understand some of the things we've been offering for quite some time. Some that we have only been offering a very short time, but we keep bringing these things to your attention, and I got a feeling, and my feeling was confirmed on Friday, that sometimes it gets confusing for you, the listener, to understand. Well, he says he's doing this, and then pretty soon he says he's doing that, and what's he really doing? And so we do all things at one time. I guess the old adage, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. And it just depends what you need to find out what we'll offer. But we've been offering things for so long that things have accrued over time. So let's sort of dance down through, not a complete list by any means, but broad category listing of things that we do here. And of course, anywhere along this list, if you want to call up to ask a question or make a comment, you know that number to be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. Now, way back when, oh man, so far back in the distance, I'm vaguely remembering it. I was a very happy and content anesthesiologist, working in various operating rooms throughout the western Pennsylvania area, doing the duties that all anesthesiologists do. They put people to sleep for surgeries. They wake them up at the end. That's right. They do both things all in the same day. And very pleasant and pleased with that practice. However, people start coming to me and telling me that they were doing things to benefit them that I had not ever quite heard of before. Now, I prided myself and thought I knew what was available out there in medicine, but I tell you what, I had not heard of what they were doing to help themselves. I was confused. I thought I heard this one person say that they were doing something. I think I heard him say chelation. That's how he pronounced it, or at least as I remember it. And I had never heard of chelation or chelation or chylation ever before. It got me started, folks, because I'll never forget that I had a retort, a comeback to that individual, and it went something like this, maybe a paraphrasing, but pretty close to direct quote. I said, now look, if there was something that could do what you're claiming that you're doing, this chylation, chelation, whatever the heck it is you're doing, as a medical doctor, I would at least have to know about it. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, come to think of it, as a medical doctor, you'd be the last to know about it. And I guess he was so right, because when I went to take a look in my wall full of medical books, there was no mention of chylation, chelation, compilation. It just wasn't there. And you know what? It really got me going to figure, how can this be? And that person did the next best thing to do with me. He could have chided me and ridiculed me. He decided not to do that. Instead, he said, you know what? Why don't you read this? And so I read about chylation, which I didn't learn to pronounce as its proper term, chelation. And it was written by doctors, and it was written for doctors. And it became apparent to me that somebody was doing some stuff out there that maybe I hadn't heard about, but it's certainly benefiting a lot of people. And that was my opening up that brought me out of the operating room in an intriguing way within a month or two. I think I read everything that was possible on the subject of chelation, which had a cardiovascular benefit to it, as I learned. And it was off to be trained in the use of chelation, coming back here within 3 or 4 months. All this takes place, and I began to use this miraculous technique in an office setting. And it really was the launch. It was the beginning. And what was the beginning of? The cardiovascular program that it was a part of, because, of course, chelation was one of those things that helps remove, dissolve, reverse the deposition of plaque in the inside of arteries. Now, it's a component of a program. It's a component of a very large group of offerings in our Cardiovascular Correction Center. We might as well just put it out that way because that's what we do. We find out where you stand with your particular cardiovascular status, and everybody has one in play. Men, you start your cardiovascular foray when you're 18 years old or thereabouts. Women, you don't start your cardiovascular forays at 18 years old. In fact, you don't do it at 28. You don't even do it at 38. You have all the time between adolescence and menopause to be completely immune for the most part. In very few examples to the contrary, women are immune of cardiovascular issues up until the time they hit menopause. Remember, it's the husband that comes home and tells the wife, hey, so-and-so dropped over dead yesterday. Now, so-and-so was 28 years old or 32 years old. He was as strong as a bull. He could probably lift a house. He was one of the most healthy specimens, as you told your wife. How in the heck does so-and-so drop over? And the reason so-and-so dropped over was his cardiovascular issues were completely out of control. He was one of the unlucky ones who developed plaque and occlusions in his vessels so rapidly that the body couldn't even adjust to them. And that was the problem. When you develop these lesions slowly over time, your body makes adjustments. You don't have any abrupt occlusion of blood vessels, and you live 30, 40, 50 years before the first signs of that occlusion begin to manifest. But ladies, you don't have a similar story. You don't come home and tell the husband, oh, my girlfriend so-and-so dropped over yesterday. Women aren't dropping over. Men are. And it's because of this cardiovascular milieu, I love that word, milieu, that is in play beginning so early. Now, it's not always been that way. In fact, we've learned about this milieu in men during the Vietnam War era. Why did we learn that at that time? Well, as many friends as I've lost, and boys and young men who died in Vietnam, all those who perish are brought back to Dover, and however they died, however they were mutilated in war, an autopsy is still done. And what they found during these autopsies of all these thousands upon thousands of 18-year-old kids is arterial disease completely out of control. That the lesions that they found in that age group astonished all of those who did those autopsies, and it set a new mark in medicine that hasn't ever reversed since that time. So something started way back when. We first learned about it in the 1960s, and we've been living with it ever since. Who knows where the next generation is going, but if there's one set of issues that needs to be dealt with, and dealt with definitively, it is your cardiovascular status. Please don't lose sight of the fact of that you're missing the forest for the trees. I have people oftentimes that come in here and want to talk to me about all sorts of things, and I'm all ears. I absolutely want to listen to what it is that they've ranked as their number one issue, and I listen to how they rank things. And I'm sitting across sometimes from a gentleman, let's say in his mid or upper 60s, and he may very well have come in, and in fact it has happened on occasions that someone's come in to talk about warts that they may have on their hands, and that they're unsightly and they want to do something about it, and we certainly will make certain that we deal with their warts. But we have to go after the big things. We can't lose sight of the forest for the trees. So that middle or upper age gentleman needs to be evaluated for his cardiovascular status, because it is the number one way you're going to be leaving this good world when you do depart. And cardiovascular events are still the number one leading cause of death. And so I'm happy to hear that a 60-year-old gentleman plus is feeling wonderful in every other way, and that really all he needs and cares to think about is warts or bunions or toe fungus or you name it. But we cannot lose sight of the forest for the trees. We've got to explore the cardiovascular status to learn how far down that road they really are, because when those people grabbed my attention back there a long time ago, it opened up a mindset to show how things could change, how you could take charge and do what the conventional medical community really doesn't even think is possible. The deposition of plaque and the occlusion of blood vessels that occur over time, it is believed, I can tell you it's believed, it's part of the staple items in conventional medical training, that you can't do anything about it. That, it just happens. Just go with it. I mean, somewhere down the road, if something really bad happens, we'll have a helicopter fly in and we'll pick you up at 3 in the morning. And we'll take you to an awaiting cath lab somewhere in western Pennsylvania. There are plenty of them. And we'll deal with it when it blows. But do something ahead of time? No. It really... Oh, of course, you should smoke. And you should eat a healthy diet. And, exercise. Don't smoke, healthy diet, exercise. I told you once that there was 3 questions, the 3 answers to one of the questions of my second graders' elementary school health test. And amazingly enough, and my child got those 3 right when I asked him. They sent a study guide home, and the study guide said, name what most important things are to have healthy heart and blood vessels. And they were, don't smoke, eat a good diet, and get plenty of exercise. A very humorous story came up a couple of months later when, in talking to my board-certified cardiologist, I asked him, what do you do about, taking charge of the heart and blood vessels? And he said to me, well, you don't smoke, you eat a wonderful diet, and you get plenty of exercise. And I just hung my head and shook it, and still keep shaking it to this day. There's plenty to do above don't smoke, eat a wonderful diet, and get plenty of exercise. Plenty to do. Been having it as a staple item around here for years. We can shut off inflammation, we can remove plaque, we can develop flow to every part of your body, and we can remove clots. And those are the 4 prongs of attack that our cardiovascular correction center can and does always take care of. And we've been doing it since the beginning of time. Of course, as part of it, this flow issue, we want to improve blood flow. It is a very important staple item. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But I should say that at this point, ECP, external counterpulsation, is the way, a wonderful way that I've had at my disposal to develop brand new blood vessels so that flow can be maximized to every area of the body. If that means in the heart itself, where there are certainly blood vessels, are really important blood vessels called the coronaries, you better develop a collateral circulation. And the way to do it is through this miraculous procedure we've been offering here for 15 years called external counterpulsation. It's part of our cardiovascular correction center. It is offered to just about every patient that comes here, and we use it at the front of the line instead of where the conventional medical community, when you can find it, continually puts it at the back of the line. So we're real proud to have had it as our initiator, our staple item from the very first days that we offered this kind of alternative approach. Things have grown considerably since then, but it all started back then and has evolved and improved over these many, many years, 20 years plus now. So, yes, it's one of the things that we do. We do well, and tough to find being done most any other place that I know. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll move on the list Hey, I'm having fun going down here. Hopefully, helping you decide what it is that you might like to see me about and helping you. We're going to take a short break and come back. Oh, let's talk about the tripod, the three-legged stool. I think that's a great way to maybe act as a rubric on all these therapies. Be right back in a moment. See you then. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today in the Monday morning version of the show. So we're going through a list, having an opportunity to maybe clarify things that we've been offering here for many years, and maybe it's confused you a bit. I'm sort of taking a nice little walk to be able to describe all that we can and do offer. We just find that as we listen and learn about you, that certain items continually come up that point to where we need to go, and that's the one we'll pursue. But to understand all that we offer probably is helpful every so often to go down through such a list. I will say this, and I've written about it extensively. In fact, it was my main chapter in the book that was put together actually 1 year ago. The top 20 alternative doctors in America had 20 docs, and I was fortunate enough to be named as one of them, that wrote a chapter and a book that just still survives to this very day. But in that chapter, I did discuss a basic philosophy of alternative medicine, and it is a three-pronged approach, a three-legged stool, a triad, however you want to look at it, blessed trinity. There are three things that all therapies, well, I'm going to use the word 90%. Okay, 90% of all therapies in the alternative world end up being able to control and to intervene. And once I describe them to you, I would say you should use the same three arenas to determine how it is that you're going to improve your own situation, which is a lot of which we bring as a message to you each and every time we do a show. That you can take charge, that you can be in control, that you can begin to change and optimize your medical status. And certainly you're going to have to break away from your conventional medical doctor, and many of you already have. You've given up the whole idea. There's a place for them. It's just really not too much in chronic disease. It's in acute disease, folks, not a chronic. And in the chronic, there's just got to be a better way. So I find out that there are three areas that in any program that I put together for anybody who walks in my door, there have to be three components that I have to examine first. Number one, what are the deficiency states that I have to correct? Because I got to tell you, group of cells all over the body require certain nutrients over time. And after many, many years of not getting those nutrients, not having received them will have to lead to manifest itself in a problem. You just can't work around, and there are metabolic workarounds, if you're lacking a mineral or vitamin or some other nutrient. And after many years of trying those workarounds, at some point, the tissue doesn't want to work around it anymore. It can't. And you're going to develop a set of symptoms because the cells, wherever they may be, if it's a hormone, they're not going to be secreting the hormone. If it's your GI system, it's not going to be as efficient. If it's your heart, you just name it, whatever body tissue is starved of its nutrients over time, it will weigh in a set of symptoms and diseases that sometimes we classify groups of symptoms in and call it a disease. But the deficiency states have to be worked out. The non-conventional community does a great job here. There are wonderful practitioners out there. They never miss on this one, folks. They are quick to point out your nutrition, and it will not come. It absolutely, positively will not come from your family doctor. Okay? He is not trained in nutrition. It's just not going to happen. So you can move elsewhere to get that kind of advice, and all practitioners, all of them, wouldn't allow you to pass by them without trying to correct your deficiency states. Prong number 2. As effective and as intervening as deficiencies are, and the correction of them will lead to an improvement, the toxicity side of the equation always rolls in too. So, you are a Western Pennsylvania born and raised individual. You're in a pretty polluted area. You have all sorts of toxic exposures based on where you were brought up geographically and even locally. I mean, what neighborhood you were brought up in, where it actually exists. Is it near power lines? Is it near some toxic dump? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so toxicities begin to mount up over a lifetime also. And these toxicities weigh in ultimately because a group of cells, when continually exposed to toxic substances, after a while, give it your old Roberto Durand no muss and will not function well. And so that interplay between deficiency states over time and toxicity states over time almost always lead to the degenerative diseases of our lifetime. That we may be the immortal 20 and 30-year-olds that we're, I think, supposed to be. Now, no one's thinking about these deficiencies and toxicities at those age groups, but as we age, and with advancing age, they will weigh in. You will suffer your diseases of the future by virtue of those two forces, and you will find out that when somebody does intervene to try to help you, it will always move into those two arenas, and they have been done and worked with by many great practitioners in Western Pennsylvania and throughout the country and the world. If you're an alternatively positioned clinician, you know these two areas, and your patients benefit by you helping them improve in those two areas. Now, as effective as that is, and as take it to the bank, obviously never to be missed as it is that a doctor isn't going to miss those two, I often find that the third one is always missed. And I believe it's that one that allows you to optimize the other two, and that is the perfusion. And I find that in my alternative colleagues who are very adept at helping you correct your deficiencies and help removing your toxicities, too much is done on developing a perfusion. You must have a blood flow to every crook and cranny in your body to be able to bring in those nutrients and to remove those toxic substances. If you have no blood flow, or a diminished blood flow, or a decreased blood flow to any crook and cranny that you own, then you're not going to be able. If you take a truckload of nutrients to get them to where you need to get them, there better be an adequate blood flow. And so the one that I think is really missed is sort of piggybacked on what I started my discussion with today. Your cardiovascular status is key. I think that when it comes to blood flows, two therapies now emerge as the top of the heap and being able to get you optimal blood flow to every area in your body. Number one, and we've already talked about, is the use of external counterpulsation, a way that blood flows are generated. The squeezing action of the legs and hip region forces all the blood from the lower part of the body up into the upper part of the body in a rhythmic, synchronized way with your heartbeat. It's extremely safe, cannot hurt you, but it certainly can help you. And how does it help? Well, the blood flow moving up into the central circulation with each squeezing of the legs is so immense that the blood vessels up north there, above the waist, say, what the heck is going on? There's a lot of blood coming at us at each beat here because it's in synchronous. The squeezing is in synchronous synchronicity, better word, with the heart. And so the blood vessels secrete a hormone to try to accommodate that, which they're really never going to be able to accommodate, but they secrete a hormone. The hormone has a name. The name of that hormone is called VEGF, VEGF. Of course, that stands for vascular endothelial growth factor. And under the influence of that hormone, here it comes, folks. You grow a brand new set of blood vessels around every part of every anatomical area of your body. It's not specific to any one. Blood vessels grow around the heart. Blood vessels grow around the lungs, the liver, the kidney, the spleen, the brain. You can't find a place that isn't growing those blood vessels because of the hormone VEGF, that's vascular endothelial growth factor, secreted by those blood vessels to try to accommodate the blood flow that they never will, allows you to grow not just a blood vessel, the most important of all blood vessels, and that's the arterial capillary. So, a capillary is that microscopic structure that you can't even see with the naked eye. There's a semi-permeable membrane and allows oxygen and nutrients to pass through it. If you want to enhance perfusion to any area, you need capillaries. You don't need the honker arteries. You need a capillary bed that will allow the last step of bringing nutrients and oxygen to an area to be optimized. The more capillaries you have, the more you'll be able to get oxygen and food materials out into the tissue fluid and into cells. And that's what VEGF does. It increases your capillary network and allows you to have an optimal level of blood flow everywhere, which makes a nice little trilogy possible. Yes, you can now take the dietary changes to correct your deficiencies because you will be able to reach every, I use the word crook and cranny, of your body with a blood flow that will bring those nutrients in. And as you are using your detoxification modalities, you've got to have a way to get those toxic agents out. And the venous capillaries that are also developed will help to remove those waste products and have an efficient way to get your toxic load reversed. And that's just how it goes. And that trilogy, that deficiencies, toxicities, and perfusion is a model that examine your own programs. Make certain that the things you're doing meet the needs of all three. And if you find yourself short, and I believe you will, I think the great doctors out there that you're seeing are going to be able, they're never going to miss the nutrients. They're always going to help you with toxicities. I find that the lacking component, even in my enlightened colleagues across the country, just don't put enough stock in this perfusion. I don't know any of my colleagues that offers ECP in their office. I don't know one of them. It's amazing to me. I get apoplectic thinking about it. But you certainly are exposed to one that does, and that one is literally in your backyard. You should come on in to see us so that we can check out your cardiovascular status. And no matter what it is that we're treating, we'll make sure that we focus in on these three deficiencies, toxicities, and perfusion. Okay, next up. Who wouldn't know that things changed around here in January of 2014? The reason why things changed is that we introduced to you a gentleman. We respectfully know him as the godfather of ozone therapy. His name was Dr. Frank Shallenberger, and the imprint that he laid down here in Western Pennsylvania is one that continues to resonate to this very day. Ozone therapy is part of my practice. Difficult to find, absolutely, in the state of Pennsylvania, but what a great rescue item it is. Ozone is a form of oxygen, folks. Regular oxygen is symbolized by the little ditty there, O2, right? Ozone is nothing more than O3. And that third oxygen molecule, which can be placed onto the O2. The difference is, whereas O2 is very stable and won't react, once you put that third oxygen molecule on the O2 and make O3 out of it, that third oxygen molecule is very unstable and highly reactive, and it reacts with human tissue. And in the reaction, the third oxygen molecule reacts with the double bonds of the fats in your blood to form an ozonide, which lives on for many weeks and which we give you back in the same blood that we took out and mixed with the ozone. Ozone therapy, as described by Dr. Frank Shallenberger, he was our guest in January, February, and April of 2014. He captivated our audiences who listened to him back then. He was so popular, it became the most requested show we ever had. We had to put it on a disc, by the way, and we do have all three shows on a disc. If you'd like to get a copy of it, give us a call here, 724-942-3002. Or you can just head to the website and scroll back to January, February, and April of that year. So it's at your disposal right now, or you can have a disc. I always like the disc so you can pass it on to others. And with a CD player, they'll be able to listen to the three shows. But ozone has, I think, two components that make its utility just never-ending. Number one, ozone therapy, especially when combined with its sister therapy, referred to as ultraviolet blood irradiation. These two are a double whammy antimicrobial that has no equal. And wouldn't you know that bugs and microbes are playing a large role in our diseases, and as time moves on, we're making bugs that no longer respond to the antibiotics that were originally made to help eradicate them. These antibiotic-resistant substances and organisms are really the scourge of medicine. Things like MRSA, and there's this kind of and that kind of, and they keep developing a new one. It seems like every couple of months there's a new strain of bacteria that are now resistant to the antibiotics that were originally created to eradicate them. Now, the nice thing about ozone therapy is that it cannot have any immunity or any strains, that's a better word, it cannot have any strains that develop that will get by them. There is no tolerance that can be found when ozone is used. So it doesn't matter whether the bug is a bacteria, or how about this? How about if it's a virus? Or what if it's a parasite? Or what if it's a fungi? If it's any of the four, it doesn't matter, because ozone will be able to eradicate it, especially when combined with its sister therapy, as I mentioned, referred to as ultraviolet blood irradiation. So the two have come into the office and really taken us over since April of 2014. That was when the FDA allowed us in this office to be a part of an IRB, which is an institutional review board, that says we are legally allowed to use ozone therapy in the state of Pennsylvania under the rules set up by both the FDA and Dr. Frank Shallenberger himself. So there are many doctors who are trained by Frank, and as such are involved with the IRB. And we're just one of them, and it has allowed us to potentially utilize it for every patient that we see that comes in. So you should be considering ozone therapy. And by the way, remember I told you there are two things that ozone therapy does, and I haven't found anything else to do? The first was antimicrobially. It will wipe out the microbes, no matter whether they're virus, bacteria, fungi, or parasite. But the second thing that ozone can do, very fascinating, is take mitochondria, which are compromised. These are the little organelles in the cell that make energy, ATP. Without that energy, those cells can't work, and very few, if any, are optimally developed to have all the ATP production that is necessary to have a healthy cell. I got to tell you, fatigue and exhaustion are the two most common symptoms that sit across my desk, and ozone therapy has got to be included in all of their treatment plans. We hit a crescendo moment. There's Bill with the chopsticks. Look, time to get on out of here. I'll pick up where I left off with the list come Wednesday. Don't forget TW3, the Weekend Wellness Workshop this weekend, Saturday, 10 o'clock, WJIS. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for AM Impact on your health.